Welcome back to On the Move, where we go behind the scenes of some of Forsyth County's larger construction projects. And today we're off the roads and we're out in nature on the Big Creek Greenway, where some renovations are set to get started here in the not too distant future, close to the Bethelview Trailhead. Kirk Franz is Director of Parks and Recreation. Kirk, I know that we've talked about this a few times here at the Greenway, and we got some new developments, so we appreciate the time here today.
You bet. Happy to be here.
Well, let's start first of all with where we are today. Where exactly are we on the Greenway?
Sure. We are at Bethelview Trailhead, and we are just a couple hundred yards north in the currently closed section, headed up towards Kelly Mill Road. What is
closed here behind us? You can probably see a lot of the traffic cones going up the Greenway here. Why is this section closed, and what section is closed?
Sure. A little over a year ago, we had to close this section. We call it Phase 4, and it's really the section between Bethelview Trailhead and then Kelly Mill Road. It's about a 2-mile section. And as you can kind of see, this area has deteriorated just a whole lot faster than other sections of the Greenway. So we had it kind of on our radar, and once we started to observe that it was really becoming a safety issue, we just made the hard decision to close it so that we could then start to make plans to renovate and come back and fix it.
So for those that don't know, again, this closure about 2 miles roughly.
That's right.
How long is the Greenway in Forsyth County that remains open?
Sure, all the way from Union Hill up to the preserve, the Sawney Mountain Preserve, is roughly 17 miles. There is one kind of like a mile gap that'll get connected once they widen Highway 20, but so really about 16 current miles of Greenway. These two are closed, so we got about 14 miles open.
All right, so let's get right into it here. If you're a frequent visitor to the Greenway, you know that this section has been closed for some time now. Let's talk about that. 2024, right, is last year that the determination was made that something has to be done here in this area. Up to this point, what has occurred? What happened in 2024?
Sure. So we have funds every year that we can use to make repairs. So like in this instance here, we have a tree down behind us. We've not addressed it yet because this section's closed. But anytime we have a tree fall down or we have a board that needs to be replaced, we have funds that can come in and make simple repairs. The issue with this section is that once we started looking, we realized that the repairs aren't just what we see above on the surface of the Greenway or the boardwalk, but it's really all the areas underneath. And it's just the moisture and the wood rot that has really just rapidly occurred, that once we start to pull boards up, it wasn't going to be a simple repair, and that was really easy to see real quick.
And you can see behind us here, all these traffic cones indicate that there is a pothole or something wrong with the board here, and just one that we're standing on right here, Kirk. So as you mentioned there, everything that's below here, once it reaches the surface, and these boards already are seeing a lot of damage, that means that underneath is much worse. Kind of go into detail about what exactly is underneath here and what will it eventually be replaced with?
Sure. So a majority of our Greenway is built in low-lying areas, right? And so it's where either it floods or we just have a lot of moisture. What we see here is that when we get to the point where it's rotting up top, most likely everything below is just as wet and is failing. So, and that's mainly because it's a fully wood design. And at the time when it was built, that was a good plan. But over time, as we all know, wood has kind of gotten thinner and not treated as much or as well. So we're working on a design to come back that should be a sustainable design over the next several decades that'll include steel. So everything below the surface boards will be steel. So any of that moisture that will naturally occur or flooding, the steel won't be affected by that. And what we'll be able to do, our crews will be able to do, is that in the future, then when we do have a board that needs to be replaced, they'll be able to pop it off, pop a new one onto the steel, and off we go.
Probably a very rudimentary explanation for this, or analogy, is that I almost feel like there's been a lot of Band-Aids put in this section and a surgery is now needed.
A lot of Band-Aids on gunshot wounds, and now we're just going to go in and we're going to give it a good replacement.
Now, being right here in nature too, we've talked about this several times, that this Greenway is built to navigate directly through nature, through very large trees, through floodplains. So you talk about a lot of impact here that just needs some TLC in this area, a little bit beyond just the typical Band-Aid as we talked about there. So let's talk about the expense of that, because fixing a gunshot wound with a Band-Aid is pretty affordable. But when you talk about a surgery, possibly a renovation for this, that's going to come at a steep cost, I imagine.
That's right, and it's going to be a complete renovation. I mean, we're not going to be using anything that's left over. Some of the existing wood bridges that are in good shape may stay, and they will stay. But anything that we see here, this is all going to be taken out and completely replaced. So our capital projects plan has allocated around $17 million towards the renovation of not just this section of Phase 4, but also some sections of Phase 2 and Phase 3 that we also see are not yet to this point of failure, but we see that happening here in the near future.
$17 million isn't something you can just say, let's get started tomorrow and write a check. That's right. Going to take some time.
And not just with the redesign, but we'll, our consultant and our design team, we're also looking at areas where we can either elevate the greenway so that we can avoid some of the flooding, or how can we maybe make some tweaks and adjustment to either help us get out of some flood zones that will just, again, help us have a successful and sustainable boardwalk that'll last many more years.
One of the things I think was interesting you and I talked about before we came out here today is the design build project structure for this. What exactly is the build? What does that mean when you talk about design build, and why does that slow things down?
Sure. And so I had to learn about it a little bit myself. So, we could sit here and make a design and just hand it over to a contractor and say, hey, you need to build it exactly this way. Well, in this case, and usually what that results in is the contractor might be like, all right, if that's the way you want it. And it's like, but we could actually save some money if we did it this way, or it'd be quicker if we did it that way. And so the way we're going to go about it is we're going to get a contractor on board who understands what our timeline is and to meet our timeline. But then we will work together with them as we design and build as we move forward. And that might give the opportunity, hopefully for less change orders, because we're going to have the conversations up front, and hopefully save a little bit of money, but also get it done in a quick and efficient time. And in the end result, the longer it takes here at the beginning, hopefully will pay off in the end, where we get there quicker. And then once we're done, we'll have a great greenway that'll last many, many years.
All right, so to quickly recap here again, the closure we're at here today is just off of the Bethelview Trailhead heading down to Kelly Mill. Big renovation project needed not only for this area, but a few others here along the greenway. What's some of the timeline going to be looking like once we get started on this? When will it get started roughly, and how long will it take once it does?
Sure, so we are in the process of finalizing our scoring of some of the bids of contractors that expressed interest in being a part of this project. I anticipate that we'll probably award by the end of this year, and then probably get started, if not by the end of this year, kicking off at the beginning of next year. And I believe our target date is going to be through the end of 2027. And trust me, when you hear that, you're like, oh gosh, that's a long way from now. It is, but when you think about how many how many stretches of greenway that we're going to be renovating and rebuilding, it's kind of like a temporary inconvenience for a long-term solution.
All right, so good stuff there. And you can find more information, of course, at parks.forsythco.com. There's a great Greenway page. It's got some information, interactive maps as well. You can get a lot more information and updates as this project continues. Not the only thing happening, though, with construction projects around Parks and Recreation. We kind of rolled the dice and said, which construction project do we want to visit here today? A few others. We've already talked about the Barker Overlook. Very exciting there. Anything new going on there?
We should be kicking off that project here towards the end of this year as well. That'll be a really fun landscape, hardscape project. There'll be a hike-in destination up there on the other side of Sawney Mountain, and I'll tell you, once you get up there, that view is a big payoff, and so I can't wait for the public to see that.
Yeah, the Indian Seats alone is a beautiful view, but yeah, up there at Barker, that's a different look for sure. Yeah. And then Bennett Park, obviously a very big renovation project there. What's the status on that one?
Bennett Park is kind of in the home stretch. Again, to remind everyone, that was a complete renovation. We went in there and kind of just wiped everything out and are rebuilding back a brand new park. And our contractor is moving on that. Everything's starting to take shape. I would anticipate that by the first quarter of next year, that we should be ribbon cutting.
Excellent. And then Sharon Springs, that's the one that's a little bit further out, not at the same point that Bennett Park is, where we're getting close. What's happening at Sharon Springs, and what's coming up there?
That's right. We're finalizing the design, and actually the design's finished. We have a couple bids that we were looking at, and we're just trying to finalize getting a contract underway with the contractor. We'll announce that probably here in the next month or so, and probably kick off at the beginning of next year. We'll be closing down Sharon Springs, much like we did Bennett Park. I know that the tag office is staying open, right. So that was kind of a key workaround to keep that open. And but Sharon Springs Park, much like Bennett Park, was a well-loved, tired park that is ready to get some new life into it, and we're going to be bringing that.
Exciting things going on there, and a lot of these parks and the vision that you're now seeing the work being done on these projects, like we're seeing also here in the Greenway, comes from the comprehensive plan that Parks and Recreation has. It's a part of a vision for the future. Well, the opportunity is now for you to be a part of the vision for the future here in Forsyth County with your Parks and Recreation system. Kicking off in later in November is going to be the comprehensive plan interactive survey. What do you want to see with your parks in the future? It's your time to get in on that, provide your comments to a great survey that'll be online, as well as some public input meetings happening early next year. A lot more details coming out about that here over the next couple of weeks. Well, Kirk, we appreciate the time as always, and for our residents out there like Kirk and myself that love to visit the Greenway often and ride bikes here and hike and explore all throughout Forsyth County's nature, hang with us. It's coming. Great renovation project underway here. It's going to last a lot longer and prevent more closures like this from happening down the road. So we appreciate the patience of our residents here in Forsyth County. Well, so for Kirk, I'm Russell Brown signing off for now. For On the Move, we appreciate you joining us here today. We'll catch you next time when we talk about what's happening in your community.